Hello. Oh my god.
Hello.
I'm being harassed. Oh
I don't
god,
know what
where's
you
my
mean.
freaking game? Where's my freaking game?
No.
Hold on. Where's
You
my
lost
freaking
it.
game?
You know what happened to it.
Please.
You
Please.
needed it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Why is it so big? Why is
What?
my game so big?
Oh, what the heck?
Why
What
is
the
my
heck?
game so big? Hold on, everybody.
It's probably because you
Oh.
had it set less to Pico Perk, which is a smaller
Yeah.
game, would be my
The
guess.
microscopic.
Oh,
Because it's pixel.
microscopic. Okay, there we go. Now it's centered.
Yay.
Game got humongous. Oh yeah, I owe Elian a shrimp. I don't think Elian's here anymore, but we're good.
Oh.
Where should we put the shrimp, everybody?
Um.
Oh, Elian is still here. Elian, where do you put your shrimp? Oh, Watcher also wants a shrimp. We put shrimps.
2 shrimp.
Double shrimp. Where's my? There's. I think copy paste. Shrimp to the second one.
Cyclones? Question mark.
Huh? I still just know ice fishes cyclones. It really wasn't fishing. What?
I hope you're well with the cyclones, I think?
Oh.
That doesn't sound good.
Cyclones.
Huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, I think there was like weather stuff for Australia, right?
Oh, was there?
That was happening. I don't really remember. Oh, it canceled my wisdom teeth. No.
Oh shit.
No.
Oh.
Watcher, where do you want your shrimp? I mean, we should turn on the actual game music.
Oh, I thought that was just us. Okay.
No, I turned it off so it doesn't drive me insane while I'm waiting.
Like Pico Perk
Oh yeah. Here we go.
on the Magatama.
Back on Miki.
Yippee!
Shrimp.
Yahoo.
And then Elian might have me muted, so I'm just gonna put a shrimp.
Oh. Just put it on your head.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
replace my little
Okay.
yeah, hug.
Yeah.
Your antenna.
60. Oh my goodness. Or 90. I can't read.
Oh my gosh, I had to bump up y'all because
Mm.
even the first setting of the Ace Attorney is so loud.
Ah.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Oogie.
UV.
And turn this down, maybe? I feel like why I feel so quiet right now.
I don't
You're
know.
not. Don't worry.
It's kind of fine on our end.
Okay. I'm just looking at the levels that I usually have on my mic, and it looked wrong.
The levels.
We can just ask chat, hey guys, how is audio
Chat,
doing
how
right
audio?
now?
Apparently 90 kilometers an hour, winds in the city, 150 on the islands. Oh,
That's a lot of kilometers.
That is
so
quite a
many.
lot.
I'm on the second case of Spirit of Justice and found the longest named man in the city.
Oh god.
No spoilies.
Hell yeah.
We'll get there
No
eventually.
spoilies. Eventually. It might take a while.
I can be a bit later, just a schmeedge. Okay.
Okay.
I will put. Oh, that's not what I want. I want.
Get loud about it.
Get louder.
loud, gamer.
I will bump it up a couple. Bip. How about that? More loud, like this. I think I did position my mic away a little further because I kept hitting it.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
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 Sorry. I'm slathering chapstick all over my face right now.
I want mangoes.
Mm.
I don't have any.
Oh.
Mingle. I'm still gonna play like most of the other games. I've done the main trilogy in the first half of Chronicle. like I said, I started playing this game only, and I only got about to like the first like
Yeah, Squid knows
eighth
nothing.
of this
Yeah.
of the one that we're on now. So from like here on,
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, Squid's got no knowledge from now on.
I
I
never
know
have
a
any knowledge.
decent amount of
No, that's
cultural
me too.
osmosis knowledge, but beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know characters from just like seeing them being Tumblr sexy men.
Yeah.
Or like the clown with the balloon boobies.
Yeah, love
She's
her.
awesome. Kind of awesome.
She's so funny.
There's a post that's like, she's my transition goals, and they're like, her boobs are fake. Yeah,
And
Fair enough.
exactly,
Have a nice day.
that's so funny.
her boobs have squeakers in them. That's what I've seen.
That's the noise it makes when you squeeze a clown's boobie.
Squid knows nothing is a wild quote, but it's true.
Squid knows nothing from now on.
Yeah, I've decided
I
I've
know
used
nothing of
the
all of
future.
his brain.
Nothing ever.
Oh no.
Her balloon boobs aren't the only thing going bang.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
crazy.
going to shoot you.
Oh god.
No.
Wow, wild foreshadowing for
There's a
for Miles
boob
Smedgeworth.
question mark.
I'm
Hmm?
gonna get you.
What?
Okay, anyways, the game.
The game.
The gaming. Oh yeah, it's trial day. Oh god, it's been so long. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, from what I know, really, we don't know anything anyways.
I
'Cause
know
we're
things.
like, we're like, wow, it really does look like he did it. Except he
Yeah.
very obviously did not do it, but that's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Uh-huh.
So Will Powers, eh?
Mr. Powers.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Willie, why do you look so unhappy?
That's just my face, man.
Is it because Miles Edgeworth didn't give you a big kiss?
That's just
Yeah.
my face, man.
Is it because he ignored you and looked away and went humph and then walked away and didn't even look at you?
Okay, I get it.
Mm.
Oh, nothing. Really, it's nothing. Right, Mia?
Oh.
Oh.
I looked at Mia and I was like, yeah, okay, might be.
It's okay. Right, Mia? Uh-oh. She looks even unhappier. Why are we all pissed right now? I can't remember.
I don't remember why she's pissed either, to be honest. Phoenix.
Yes.
Your client is now practically a dead man walking.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that's why I feel particularly close to him.
She's dead.
Hahaha, you're so good at jokes, Mia. Anyways,
I'm going to kill you so you know what it's like.
okay. This is no time for dead people jokes, please.
You know we're going into this trial utterly defenseless. Yet, if Mr. Powers is truly innocent, we should be able to find something overlooked in the evidence to prove it.
Something overlooked?
We have to find something, Phoenix. What? We have to find something, Phoenix, today. That comma is
Today.
weird to me. Okay. It's that or lose the trial.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't gonna be easy. October 19th.
10 a.m. District Court Courtroom number 4. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers.
Yeah, shit. Sorry. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
No, that's what Edgeworth said. Yeah.
He's like, ah,
Yeah.
shit.
Shit, it sure is.
Sure is.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
The
No, that's
defense is ready,
fair.
Your Honor.
I took a painkiller and then my brain went away.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Uh,
Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. Your opening statement, please.
an unexpected fact has come to the attention of the court, so I'm just giggling. The giggler.
The giggler.
Yesterday we learned that there were other people present at the studios. Yeah, the producer. Today I would like to show evidence proving they had nothing to do with the murder.
Very well. You may now call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth.
I wonder if it'll be that producer. Oh, that guy. I forgot.
And also the child. The prosecution calls Mr. Salmonella to the stand. Oh yeah, I gave him like the
most-
text-to-speech.
Text-to-speech, normal.
I gave him text-to-speech voice.
Or that
Okay.
director. I hate
The
this guy.
producer's the sexy woman.
Oh, that's right.
Oh
but I hate
yeah,
this guy.
Gumshoe ooh-wooed all over the place, that's right.
Yeah, Gumshoe kidnapped the child and said, "You're going down
I've
to the
got the
precinct,
child."
pal."
Oh yeah.
You did it, didn't you? The child's like, "What the fuck?"
I'm a baby.
I didn't do nothing!
Yeah.
Will the witness state his name and profession?
I hate this guy.
Ellipses. How rude can you get? You don't know me? I'm the director. I make the Steel Samurai. Noob. Raffle. What the hell is he saying?
I don't
understand a word he says. Salmonella. I'm a director. Television. This is a funny face.
Were you at Global Studios on the day of the murder?
Yes, Your Honor. We think
Very well. Please testify to the court about the events of that day. Phoenix,
Don't fuck it up now.
Yes.
don't fuck up.
He's like shaking in his little boots.
He's trying.
I thought you would say he's just shaking and throwing it back. I'm like,
Yeah, you look over and he's like throwing ass.
Style.
I would do like, Phoenix, can you please stop? We're in the middle of a case right now.
Phoenix, you need to stop busting it down sexual style. We need to win this case.
I know you're trying to court Miles Edgeworth, but like, don't do that here.
We need to win in the session.
We need
of
to win
court right
first.
now, and then you can court Edgeworth.
Exactly. Let's start by picking this testimony apart.
Oh gosh.
If Powers is innocent, you know what that means.
We get ice cream.
Someone in the
Get ice
trailer.
cream.
We get ice cream. That's your incentive.
Yay!
Yay! Someone in the trailer on that day did it.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Okay.
Oh, wait, whoa, 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 whoa.
Right. She doesn't waste any time putting on the pressure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm reading. I forgot. I was at the studios from around 9 o'clock that morning. During the morning, I was doing, an action scene run-through. It took a lot more time than I thought it would. I hear that everyone else ate lunch in the employee area. But I had a meeting in the Studio 2 trailer, so I ended up skipping lunch. We were in the meeting until around 4 o'clock. During the meeting, well, I'm pretty sure no one left their chairs. We were too enamored by the Mountain Dew we were drinking. That's about it.
Why would you say that?
You hear they're coming out with a new Baja Blast? I'm just saying. Sorry.
Oh, fuck.
I had no clue.
The time of Mr. Hammer's death was 2:30 p.m.
It sounds like you're getting close to your death, Judge.
Oh my god. You killed him!
I'm sorry.
And according to your testimony, you were in a meeting at that time. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay. Hold on. Let me look at our... what do we got? Time of death, 2:30. Strangle one leg. Murder weapon. Sleeping pills.
Oh.
2:15 to 4. Oh, and this is from the kid. Okay.
Kid.
Let's see. 9. In the morning, a little more time than I thought I would. There was nothing left in the employee area. Had a meeting in the Studio 2 trailer. Having lunch. Okay. And the meeting's at 4. And I'm pretty sure no one left their chairs. Hold it. You didn't take a single break?
Oh. Well... yeah, not a one. Sweats.
We can see.
What's
You don't have to say it out loud.
What's he sweating so much about, I wonder? Only had an idea.
Sweater.
I'll wait for one to come up and hit him with it later.
Oh.
Phoenix?
Yes.
If his alibi holds, power is finished.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you. Totally didn't know that. Totally aren't shitting. Totally am not shitting my pants about it right now.
The shitter.
Please stop shitting your pants.
Will, Mia, maybe you stop looking at me like that.
Press him as hard as you can and find out where he's lying.
What do you think I'm trying to do? Right.
You're shitting.
Stop. You
Stop
need a better
it.
diet.
Okay, I guess we're gonna press him on everything. Is that when you always come into work?
Oh no. I come in all sorts of hours. It's the industry way.
Yeah, I know about the
Okay.
freaks in your industry.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa,
Phoenix.
dude. Penis right, dude. Still, FWIW. I was pretty busy all that day. Sad face.
FWIW.
How did you do that with your mouth?
Whale?
For what it's worth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I work with old people.
Okay.
Tell us more about that. Is that a jab at Squid? I work with old people.
No, like in general.
No. Okay.
Press on this.
Millennials and above.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
In the employee area?
Millennials. That's right. It was a fight scene between the Steel Samurai and the evil magistrate.
Was anyone else at the run-through?
Oh, yeah, that security lady was sitting there watching the whole thing. Lol. She was cheering on Hammer, if you can believe it.
I can't believe it. She certainly has the lungs for it. Anyone else?
Nope, just us four.
I'm just gonna...
Hold it.
Why did it go on so long?
I'm pretty sure you've already heard about this,
Yeah, but I gotta hear it from you, bucko.
but WP twisted his ankle during the run-through. See.
Alright, thus the limp.
Which of course led to me missing my lunch. ROFS.
Rolling
Lost.
off.
On the rolling on the
Shitting?
floor, starving.
Rolling on the floor, shitting.
That would be rancid and horrid. What the fuck?
It would make sense for this
hungry.
guy.
I guess.
He's hunger. I hear that everyone else ate lunch in the employee area.
And how did you hear that? What exactly did they have for
T-bone
lunch?
steak.
They love steak. T-bone steak. The assistant cooks some up.
Cut your
I
tongue
hate
away.
This, I hate this.
I use this tongue to eat steak.
Chop it off.
No. Then I want to be able to eat steak.
Yes, you would.
With your teeth.
I need to taste the steak.
No, you don't.
Nah. Come to think of it, there was a plate with some bones on it in the employee area.
Bones. Everyone else, meaning that the witness did not eat with them.
So, in the end, you didn't get to eat?
Hunger, rolling on the floor, starving. Yeah, no steak at least. Can you believe it?
That must have been tough.
Phoenix.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't something about that seem odd to you?
At least steak? At least not steak? It's a little vague. It's a little vague.
You can do it.
I'm just trying to think back of what he says that would have been if it was contradictory or not.
Also, think about the what you were seeing in the previous.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a hot minute since the last investigation.
Yeah, that's why I'm
time,
trying to rumble them around in my brain.
Well, there were plates at the Studio 2 trailer area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Studio 2 the one that was near the Incinerator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also with the where they were doing the meeting.
Yeah, there were plates there. Was there anything on them? I don't think I remember seeing
No,
anything on
I
them.
think I said they were probably burned at the incinerator.
That's true.
It was T-bone steak without the bone.
Without the bone.
Hmm. But does that make it a contradiction? I don't think so.
Did you skip lunch?
Yeah, he said at least, or steak at least. I'll do vague. I'll go with vague. Actually, there is something bothering me. Mr. Manila, just now you said steak at least. So you ate something other than steak?
Yeah, good call. I had some chocolate in my pocket, which I used to stave off starvation.
I want to chop off your tongue.
I see. Is that all? I was sure I was onto something there. And the meeting around until 4. Okay, I pressed on this one. I didn't press on this one. What were you discussing?
The Steel Samurai story and our budget. Get this, the sponsors turn to me and say, Mr. Manella, those scripts of yours are not appropriate for children. Can you believe it?
Actually, I kinda can.
So
nobody left the table during the whole meeting? I did this one. Pretty sure no one left their chairs. That was the last one.
Phoenix.
Oh,
Yay.
what?
If his alibi holds, Powers is finished.
it's a Jover.
Press him as hard as you can and find out where he's lying.
But I pressed everything. Okay, let me look
Probably
at
have
our...
to do that. You probably have to go to the option thing with Mia again. Maybe? I don't know.
The lunch.
Maybe it was contradictory?
Oh, maybe it was. This... We didn't get any info on this. Too bad I can't look in this. Can I just present some stuff to him, I guess?
I think that'll just count as like a you're going objection, and then it'll, if you fuck up, it'll penalize you.
Okay. So that was this one. Yeah, that everyone else ate lunch in the employee area. It was this one. What exactly do they have for lunch? A mistake. Trying to think of it. Oh no, it's the next one. Yeah. And didn't get to eat. Did this. Must have been tough. She talks. Yap, yap, yap. Contradictory. Yeah, it does seem odd. Now that you mention it. Mr. Manila.
What did you want, Sweats?
When I went to Studio 2, I saw something on the table there. There were 2 plates, the same kind of place in the one as the ones in the employee area. Who ate lunch there?
Arg. No, good call, Sweats. I was embarrassed, so I didn't mention it. But I did eat after all.
Oh,
Why did you
I
lie?
a T-bone steak, you mean?
Or why did you say you didn't eat? What the hecky?
Yeah, well, I mean, the assistant went through all that trouble. I brought it to the trailer, thinking I could eat it later.
Clearly a man who likes to eat. I'd suspected as much. So when exactly did you eat?
The Muncher. We took one break during that meeting. I, wolfed it down then. Drool.
A mental image I will carry with me to my grave.
I'm not imagining that.
Yippee!
Wait a second. They took a break in that meeting. That contradicts his testimony. I'll press on that one a bit more.
Wow.
Until around 4.
No one, and then I
It's
think
this one.
no one got up.
Yeah.
You go press
Hold it. You didn't take a single break?
Well. Yeah, not a one, Sweats.
What's he sweating
You
so much about, I
fucking
wonder?
idiot.
Only I had an idea. Yes, you do! Phoenix! Wait a second.
Phoenix.
Penis right.
Phoenix.
Maybe I do have an idea.
Yeah,
Wait a second.
wait a damn minute.
Mr. Manila, you've just contradicted yourself. I got you,
Wait a
bitch.
goddamn moment.
Didn't you just tell the court that you ate a T-bone steak during a break?
Oops, Ruffle.
I didn't like that they just gave him a jiggle physics to one of his titties. Well,
Why not?
Mr. Manila, what's this all about?
What's
maybe I
this
do
about,
have an
then?
idea. Edgeworth would love flowers.
Phoenix.
Well, yeah, I guess we did take a little break.
Phoenix, great job!
Thank you.
If they took a break, one of them could have gone to the studio during that time.
I like that she talks to him as like a
She's like,
5-year-old.
yeah.
You did it!
Good job.
job.
Phoenix.
Good
You
job,
found the
Phoenix.
contradiction. You did it.
Your Honor, I call on the witness to testify to the court about this break.
Very well.
Examination of the witness. Look, it's just what I saw. Because it's the one of the only animations in this game.
Mr. Manila, your testimony, please.
No, we saw Miss May's boobies jiggle too.
No, I just mean
She
the
was
reaction
animated.
shots are the only animated things. So
Oh,
Yeah.
it's what I noticed.
Why were you never mind.
I was not. Oh my God. I don't. Why are you heeing? Edward, stop.
Heh.
He goes, hey.
He just like leans over his bench and he's like, Edward, stop.
He's like, you fool, Phoenix Wright. I wouldn't like flowers.
Cut it out right now.
Mm.
Uh-oh. Edward is laughing.
I'm scared.
The hee here.
Mhm. Yeah. F for what it's worth. Okay.
I think we read this already.
I wanna say it like it's like Raffle where I say it as a word. Yeah. Poof. Phew. We took a
Phew.
break. Raffle. But it was only 15 minutes. 15. That's only 13 in base 12. What? Not enough time for someone to say, commit murder in Studio 1. Lol.
Mm-hmm.
That's only just enough time to eat a T-bone steak, if you ask me. Steams.
Like rice?
Like rice. Like a dumpling. I want a
Hmm.
steamed dumpling.
Ooh, that would be
I have
good.
some in the freezer.
Yummy.
Maybe I'll have some later.
Share.
Maybe.
Share.
I'll consider.
Mail me some.
I will. I don't think it would even be enough time for that, but that's just me.
Ooh, if we take a break, I have some like cheesy vegetable risotto that I can eat later.
Ooh, yummy. Very well. You may begin the cross-examination.
Oh Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Took a break.
Foil.
15 minutes. Did they say? Did he say when the break was?
No.
Around
No.
lunch,
Lunch-ish.
Lunch-ish, because that's when they were eating.
Allegedly.
Presumably, I've eaten lunch at 3 p.m. So
Foil.
Yeah, I just don't know what
do
they
be like
consider
that.
lunch.
it do be like that.
It was only 15 minutes. Okay. Oh boy. This I don't think I need left. 215. Hmm. $2 p.m. 2:15.
Mm.
Okay. I guess I'm just gonna have to press him on all of these. Oh, here we go. What time exactly did you take this break?
I'd say it was from around 2:30 or so until 2:45.
Okay.
2:30 to 2:45. Okay. 2:30. That's the time of death. Oh, okay, so too late for time of death. Or if they like sprinted over there in like record time and like stabbed him
The path
and
would have
ran
been
away.
blocked, depending though,
Yeah,
right?
but we established that the kid comes through the woods, so like everyone
yeah,
else could
that's
go through
true.
the woods.
I mean, I guess, but if you're a kid who's short and can navigate the woods and is familiar versus adults who aren't as familiar with it.
I mean, even then, you could just go around.
It depends on how thick the woods are,
No,
question
but
mark.
even there was a space around the statue where there was no woods. You could have just stepped over a bush.
I guess.
That's the time of death. 2:30, that's me. That's fine.
That's fucked. Man.
So we could have gone to Studio 1, killed Hammer, and come back. In a single minute? I guess it's possible time-wise. No!
Phoenix.
Not unless he can, like... Not unless he's Sonic the fucking Hedgehog.
Phoenix, no.
Gotta get this Genius World Records for murder. It was only 15 minutes. Okay. Hold it! Oh my goodness, what were you doing for those 15 minutes?
Feasting. Eating my T-bone steak. What else?
Was the bone somehow the weapon, and it was pointy and sharp, and then it was disintegrated, and they framed the other weapon as the weapon?
The
Is that what
bone?
happened?
The
You would
bone?
be surprised.
I'm gonna stab you with a bone.
There were 2 plates on that table.
Oh, right. The other one was Diva's. Sorry, D. Vasquez's plate.
D. Vasquez, the producer.
To eat a T-bone steak in 15 minutes, that's quite a feat.
What do you guys eat? Okay,
My
maybe it's just
God.
me. I eat fast, but I can have that shit done in like 5.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hork that
When you
thing
got
down in
back to
2.
back to back to back meetings, you don't get time to eat.
Yeah.
You just go for it.
You just hork it down.
And that's your sustenance for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you gotta speed eat.
You
I
gotta.
guess you guys are all so rich you have the time to eat.
I think it
know.
might also be like a cultural thing because I think steak has an image of taking a while to eat.
To
Probably.
savor it, presumably.
Yeah, 'cause it's
That makes sense.
I'm not
More
sure.
expensive.
I'm unsure.
I don't think I could do that with a T-bone.
The T-boned steak.
I probably could if I really had to.
I'll be honest,
Oh, 'cause you
gamers,
don't
I don't
like
like steak that much.
That's fair.
I can't really eat red meat a lot. I do sometimes, but steak, I'd much rather like steak tips or something, not like an actual cut.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm cheap.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I like food, but I'm also of the wretched mindset of if I could eat like a dog kibble genre thing forever, I probably would, and it was like perfectly nutritiously valuable for
Dog
me.
kibble.
It tasted fine. I would eat like a dog kibble equivalent. Like I
Human
would just
kibble.
eat that
I
forever.
eat things basis on how much and how expensive they are.
Mm.
The BOGOs saved my life.
Like I like food and I like how it tastes, but the experience of eating is I'm a hater for some reason. I don't know why.
I think I as an alien.
It's kind of cursed.
No.
I feel like an alien.
Chicken tenders and nuggets, yeah.
Eating is a chore. Why do I have to do all these activities to keep my body alive? It's kind of cringe. I should just be able to read manga, draw, and watch anime
Photosynthesize.
forever. Yeah, I should simply
Yeah.
be able to subside off of the sunlight.
Wraps, pastas, I can fit it all.
I love pasta.
Pasta's
I love
good.
pasta because it's easy to eat.
Yeah. Easy to cook,
Easy to
easy
cook,
to eat.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Easy cleanup. You could do one pot. It's so awesome.
it's awesome.
So epic. Hold it.
I could probably commit a murder faster than I could eat a steak.
Yeah. I can do it right now.
No.
Why
No.
is
Well, if I had this handy gun, maybe I could do it.
that? Why is
Oh, you
that?
spit?
Oh.
Come into this dark alleyway. Haven't we had enough of this pointless line of questioning?
Hey, Edgeworth, how about you shut the fuck up?
How about you shut the fuck up?
No,
Your
you!
Honor. The testimony to this point has made one certain fact painfully clear. The people in the trailer had nothing to do with this murder.
Oh, you're a slimy bitch, Edgeworth.
I thought you were just gonna call him a slut.
You're a slut, Edgeworth.
It was impossible for any of them to go to Studio One.
Phoenix just gets up on the on
You're
the
a
desk
slut,
and
Edward.
points.
He's just like ignoring
You're a
him. He's
fucking
like,
slut.
Okay.
for any of them.
What?
Something wrong, Mr. Wright?
Yeah. Yeah. Something is wrong.
Is something wrong? Surely you weren't suggesting one of the people in the trailer went to Studio One.
Shut up.
Well, Mr. Wright?
Judge, give me one punch. Give me one, let me swing once.
Perhaps I will allow it. Phoenix, this is critical.
Oh.
Focus.
Think about it before you give your answer. Think. Use your brain. Do you claim someone from the trailer went to Studio One?
I think so. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah?
well, who else was in the? Do we know who else was in the trailer other than director and producer?
Assistant. Because she cooked, no?
No.
Wait, no?
No, it was just. I think it was just them for the most part.
Gotcha. Just, okay.
Oh, and the whoever their shareholders are, the people from the
Yeah,
network.
like the
Oh, that's
nameless
true.
characters that don't exist here. Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking. I'm trying to make my brain make sense of what we know, which is shit all.
Mm-hmm. The thinker.
The thinking thinkers is me.
Overruled, we do not shame in this court. Penalty, no punching.
Damn it. I'm gonna.
Do you want to think about? I kind of want to eat another piece of pizza. You know, can I like?
You want
go warm it up?
You want this
I
to
gotta
be
go
our
warm it up
break
while
for
you
you to
think
go
it.
get your pizza?
No, you guys discuss and you guys I'll because I know the answer, but
I know you know the
oh.
answer.
Yeah.
I'll be back. I'm gonna toast up a piece of pizza.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So. Oh my god. All right. So. We only know that the people in the trailer were the producer and the director.
Mm-hmm.
And other people there who the shareholders or whatever who we don't get to see, so I'm gonna say it's probably not them.
Okay.
The only other person the only other person I can think of is the assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Cause she probably brought them lunch. Cause
That's what
she
I
cooked
said.
everything.
Yeah. If she was already on her way out
Yeah.
by then. She could have just been there briefly. She didn't have to. It doesn't have the limitation of being at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my guess.
So it's probably no, because she's not like originally from the trailer, so she would have had to come from Studio One.
Yeah. But it's funny that the text is I claim it, and I claim it loud.
I claim it, and I claim it loud. Say it loud and proud, Phoenix.
Yeah, I think that's funny, personally.
It's
Who
funny,
cares
but it'll
if
probably get
it's
me
not
in
the
trouble.
answer.
It is,
but like counterpoint, it'd be funny.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Who cares about getting in trouble if it's the funny answer? It's gonna be fine. But go with your heart that you do have.
I'm really trying to get my brain to do the smart decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, hiccups.
Eat them.
No.
Suppress them in your stomach? Question mark?
Oh.
Throat. No, that's not right too.
Here, I'm gonna crack open
lungs.
this.
Your lungs? What?
No, it's cracking open my wawa.
Oh, that makes more sense. Don't crack open your lungs, kids. That's probably a bad idea.
Grapefruit. Nom 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 nom.
Grapefruit are good because they are not technically made of grapes.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Is it grape spacebar fruit or grapefruit?
Grapefruit,
you know?
one word.
Okay. I mean, I guess you could call it grape. That would be a fucked up marketing tactic.
Grapefruit
and grapefruit.
Group fruit.
Yeah. Wouldn't
Why
that be
is it called a
awesome?
grapefruit? Hold on. Now I'm
I don't
curious.
know.
Grapefruit.
Yeah, look it up, gamer.
Let's look it
You
up.
can do it. Let's learn about grapefruit while we wait.
I love looking up a wiki.
Yeah.
Okay. They're a citrus hybrid
Yeah.
created through an accidental cross between a sweet orange and a pomelo.
Neither have anything to do with grapes.
Let's see. Grapefruit drug interactions are common. That's true. If you're taking medication, you shouldn't eat grapefruit.
Ah.
Description. Evergreen grapefruit trees. What about the name? Oh my gosh. It dates back to 1929. Actually, is that true? Where does it say? Oh, wait. Originated in Barbados in the 18th century.
Oh.
History? Maybe under history? Let's see. Oh.
Oh.
Oh my god, a freaking pirate? Grapefruit originated as a natural hybrid. One ancestor of the grapefruit was the Jamaican sweet orange, itself an ancient hybrid of Asian origin. The other was the Indonesian pomelo. The pomelo was the female ancestor. The sweet orange, itself a hybrid, was the male. Both C. sinensis and C. maxima were present in the West Indies by 1692. One story of the fruit's origin is that the 17th century trader named Captain Shattuck brought pomelo seeds to Jamaica and bred their first fruit, which were then called shaddocks. The grapefruit then probably originated as a natural occurring hybrid between the two plants, sometime after they had been introduced there. The hybrid fruit called forbidden fruit was first documented in 1750, along with 14 other citrus fruits, including the Guinea orange, by a Welshman, the Reverend Griffith Hughes, in his The Natural History of Barbados. However, Hughes's forbidden fruit may have been a plant distinct from grapefruit, although still closely related to it. Oh my gosh. This history goes on forever. Okay, hold on. Let me see if it... the name grapefruit was used during the 19th century to refer to pomelos. It was brought to Florida by the French businessman Count Odette Philippe in 1823.
Florida.
Further crosses have produced the Tangelo, the Mineola Tangelo, and the Orblanco. Oh, they don't... The grapefruit... Okay, but nothing about the name? All this history about this fruit, which strangely well documented. Production. Wow. China in 2022 produced 5.2 millions of tons of grapefruits. Pests and diseases. Nothing about the name. Okay, maybe I have to look up specific about the name. Grapefruit name origin. Oh, the name grapefruit comes from the fruit's appearance on the tree, which resembles a bunch of grapes. Awesome, okay.
Love that for grapefruit.
That's so... How did grapefruit get his name? Yeah, Jamaicans coined the term grapefruit because the fruit grew in bunches like grapes. Well...
Fair enough.
Captain did what? Shattuck? Shaddock? Wow, I love learning.
Love learning.
That's true. I do love learning. When I get a question, I have to go to the wiki. That's how I learned about my favorite man, the Craigslist man. Let's see. Let me look back at that history link. The Scottish... In 1830, the Jamaican version of the plant was given the botanical name Citrus paradisi by the Scottish physician and botanist James McFadden. That's almost like a a modern name. And every child would call him James McFadden.
James McFaded, more like fade. What?
I don't know.
I don't know either, to be frank.
McFadden distinguished between two plants by fruit shape, with the Barbados grapefruit being piriform, pear-shaped, while the forbidden fruit was maliformis, which is probably orbular.
Yeah.
McFadden's and Hughes' descriptions differ, so it is not clear that the two reports are describing the same plant. It has been suggested that Hughes' golden orange may actually have been a grapefruit, while his forbidden fruit was a different variety that may since have been lost. Lost fruit. There's a reference.
That's been lost.
Mystery of the Forbidden Fruit. Historical epilogue on the origin of the grapefruit. Oh. Wow.
Wow.
Count Odette Philippe. Oh, there's a link for this guy. Wow. Odette Philippe was the first permanent non-native settler on the Pinellas Peninsula in what is now known as the state of Florida.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
Grave marker inscription. Oh, so they have his grave. Oh, as the first European settler in Pinellas County, he established St. Helena Plantation, now Philippe Park. Philippe was the first to cultivate grapefruit in Florida and introduced cigar making to Tampa. His descendants populated this frontier. He was said to be a doctor and of noble birth. Wow. Gallery. Oh, that's all of his gravestone.
All of his gravestones?
It's
the
three
plural?
pictures. It's 3 pictures of different angles of his gravestone.
No, he has like multiple scattered all around the world, actually. All over Florida. One of them's in a tree.
Are there other... James McFadden. I want to learn about this guy. 1799 to 1850. That's not very long. He died at 51. Oh. Whoa, this guy's crazy. His middle part is crazy.
Hmm?
This guy's middle part is crazy in this painting. I'll have to show after because I'm looking on my on my phone.
Presumably. Yeah.
Well, this is our learning time, watcher. While Aya's gone, we do learning time.
How long does it take to cook a pizza?
I think he's just toasting it.
Toast a pizza. That should be even quicker. Have I ever told you about the time I almost caused a fire when I was cooking a pizza?
No. How did you do that?
I forgot.
You forgot.
I forgot the pizza a little bit too long. And then when I walked out, I saw smoke and I went, oh, that's bad. So I turned off and then I stared at oven and I'm like, it'll suffocate in there, right?
Yeah.
And it did.
It usually does.
So it's fine. Because it's usually because it's oxygen that it needs or whatever.
Yeah, my one studio apartment, the fire alarm in there was so sensitive. Every time I cooked, I would have to rip it out of the wall.
I think mine is broken.
Oh no! That's worse.
It's okay.
That's worse.
It's okay. I haven't caused a fire since.
Oh no.
That's probably why rent is a little cheap.
Oh yeah, because like there's no safety. If you die, you die.
I'm not dead yet, so I think it's worth it. I've been here for like a couple years. I'm fine.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
So fine. And fun fact, when I was first moving here, the guy, when he was inputting like the rent and what the rent should be, he was like, this is my first time doing this, so this is new for both of us.
Oh, well.
and they haven't given me a rent increase since I moved here, and I think that might be why. Something bugged.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, I'm not gonna correct you.
I'm gonna knock on wood for you. Let's not jinx it.
Yeah, let's not jinx it. But like, I haven't had a rent increase since I've moved here, which is awesome because apparently it's gone up to like the 2000s in some places.
Oh, yeah. No, my studio apartment was $1,700, and that's not including utilities.
A studio?
A studio.
Jesus Christ!
It was literally like a shoebox. I lived in a shoebox.
Mine's like 1,300, and I have a bedroom.
Yeah. No, I lived in my living room.
Damn. Hello.
Hello.
Wow. We had learning time while you were gone.
And then we were discussing fire and pizza and rent.
Real.
Let's see. Let me pull up my.
What was your decision?
I'm gonna say no.
Land on no.
Okay.
Is that a good decision? Or are we...
Go ahead, do it. Just do the thing.
Do it. Do it.
Even if you fuck up, you'll like lose two tittle bits anyway.
I know, but I don't want to. I don't want to write off so many possible suspects, but I can't keep claiming the impossible either. I agree that it was impossible for anyone in the trailer to go to the studio in that time.
Haha. I see what he said. I thought you might be thoughtlessly treading on the thin ice again.
You know what, Edgeworth? Don't make me come over there.
You should do it.
But I see you had at least an inkling of the truth. You idiot.
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's quite simple. True, the break in the trailer meeting came right at the time of death. However, the path from there to the scene of the crime was blocked. Since 2:15, the fallen Mrs. Monkey had barred the way.
Mrs.
Monkey?
Wasn't it Mr. Monkey?
Monkey. I don't know. At around 2:15, a strong gust of wind knocked off the studio mascot's head. Ergo, when the people in the trailer took a break at 2:30, the way to the studio was blocked. Blocked by Miss Monkey's severed head. That's gruesome to think about.
It's actually Mr. Monkey. Aha! But Edgeworth has a point.
It could be both.
Misgendering Mr. Monkey.
No. They could both be right.
Yeah, it is a statue and therefore has no gender.
Exactly.
Well, along with its head falling off, its penis also fell off. So
Whoa!
Whoa!
New bottom surgery just dropped.
Bottom surgery.
Fall off.
Take just a strong gust of wind blows it right off.
Damn.
It got bottom surgery instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I feel no desire to correct him.
It's cause it's Mrs. Monkey now.
Yeah.
You know that, Phoenix, in your heart.
I believe you have seen enough evidence. I would like to relieve Mr. Manella from the stand.
Me too. Get him out of here.
Get him out.
What? It's over?
It's over.
Very well. The court's opinion on this case is as follows. We have found that there were several other people in Studio 2 on the day of the murder. However, it is also clear that none of these people could have gone to Studio 1. They therefore have no relation to this case. Furthermore, with regards to the photo of the Steel Samurai, given the size of the costume, no one other than Mr. Powers could have worn it that day. All that is lacking a decisive evidence that he is the one who did it. If we had that, I am afraid I would have to find Mr. Powers guilty.
Your Honor, The prosecution is pleased to announce that we indeed have decisive evidence. A witness.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Edward!
Who is this witness, Mr. Edgeworth?
Mr. Edgeworth. My witness saw it the very moment when the steel samurai skewered the victim.
Oh, was it the
fucking
child?
It's the child.
Don't bring this child into this.
We're bringing this child to court.
I want the sassy lost child in the court, actually.
Yeah, I've
That'll be
spoken
funny.
enough.
Order! I will have order! I see. The court will take a 10-minute recess, after which we will hear your witness. Court is adjourned for recess.
Everybody in the court runs
Yay.
outside to a playground.
Yay, yippee!
October 19th, 11:04 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 1.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do we do now, Mia? If everyone in that trailer has an alibi.
I'm sorry, Phoenix.
I have to go. You're on your own.
You're on your own. I guess I was wrong.
Mia! Don't tell me you're giving up. If you give up, what hope do I have?
Don't get me wrong. I've never given up on a trial before, not while there's still a chance. Only one thing became clear in your cross-examination.
You fucking suck, Phoenix.
You're really bad at this. Why did I take you up as a protege? The people in the trailer could have not gone to Studio 1. I thought there was more to it than that. But I was wrong. That's all there is.
Did you fuck up? What's going to happen to me?
Oh, you're super going to jail,
Oh,
buddy.
you're super fucked,
Oh
dude.
no! It kind of seems like everyone in that courtroom thinks I did it. I think I'm a murderer. I'm just a little guy.
Don't worry, Mr. Powers.
I'm worried.
That's it, you're going to jail.
Oh fuck!
To jail
You
with
shouldn't
you.
be worried to jail. You're not allowed to worry. If you're innocent, we will prove it. I guarantee it. Leave it to us and be yourself. Be strong.
Be who you are.
You
For
are the
your
steel samurai.
Do we Sorry.
You are the steel samurai.
I didn't. Okay.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm
Mickey-
sorry.
Didn't finish.
You are the steel samurai. I don't remember the rest of the.
children
Something
as
about
such.
children.
Well,
I
whatever.
hope to the children.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
You. Thanks, Sniff.
Sneef, sneef.
Sniff.
Okay, Phoenix.
No.
This one's for the kids. Let's do it.
This one's for the gamers.
This is for the gamers.
October 19th, 11:15 a.m. District Court for number 4.
Yeah.
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 Court is back in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers.
Yippee. The prosecution has a concern.
Of course
Stop.
you do. Stop it.
No.
As our witness is a grade schooler of tender years, and this is a murder case. We worry that the defense might cause unnecessary trauma with its cruel questioning.
What the heck?
I think the kid's gonna traumatize him.
Nice to see Edgeworth taking the moral high ground.
However, we have no choice. The prosecution calls Cody Hackins to the stand.
I think Mia should take this. He likes Mia.
No.
Mia
Oh.
left.
He's so little.
Your Honor, perhaps you could arrange a box for him to stand on.
Oh, right.
He's too itty bitty.
Guard, please bring him a box. One of those donut crates should do.
Well, they just have the guard hold him underneath his arms like how you hold a cat. Like dangle a cat.
The entire time.
Mm.
He's still got a
There he
he
is.
can't have that camera in here.
Will the witness state his name and grade in school? Witness.
Don't yell at him.
He's like 2.
What? Just because you're a grown up doesn't mean you can push me around.
This is a court.
I hope this kid traumatizes him. Cody. Answer his question, okay? Hey, it's you, the nice lady. I'm Cody Hackins, and I'm in 2nd grade.
Aww.
Aww. I get the feeling this is gonna be a long, long day.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember that you're speaking to a child. Try to be gentle.
Murph. A witness, or I mean, Cody.
He's having trouble with this gentle thing. Anyways.
You were present, or you were at Global Studios on the day of the incident.
You got a problem with that?
Please tell us what you saw that day.
What, Pops? You want me to tell you and Gramps with the beard over there?
Yes. Just Mr. Edgeworth will do.
I
well,
prefer bearded
I
gentleman
wasn't
myself.
touching anything. It did that on its
Yeah,
own.
it's just very fast.
A very long
I wasn't
day.
ready.
Mm-hmm.
Incidentally, photographic equipment is strictly forbidden in this courtroom.
Exactly.
Oofed. My apologies, Your Honor. He said he wouldn't testify if we couldn't bring it. I'd like special permission if that's possible.
Not
He's just
that
a baby.
not because our artists don't want to draw another sprite in him.
No, that's valid. I love that they're baking it in. That's awesome, actually. Good for
Yeah.
them. Good for them.
Wait, so you had to bargain terms with a kid and you lost?
I love that.
That's how kids are, man.
Venus
I
just
love
points
that,
at Edgeworth
actually.
and starts going,
Like you wouldn't do the same.
Hey, I just got this new camera. Don't really know how to use it all that good yet. But I bring it with me wherever I go.
That's great, Cody.
Phoenix.
Yes.
I wonder if he had that camera on the day of the murder.
Didn't he?
You'd better make note of it in the court record.
Write it down.
Write it down. You know how to write, don't you, Phoenix?
Yes, Mia. I know how to write.
But can you spell the word right?
Yeah, obviously. WRIGHT. No, Phoenix. I mean the other one.
Oh, God. Very well, Cody.
Oh my god.
Please testify to the court about what you saw the day of the incident.
The day of the incident.
Ah.
I wanted to see a Steel Samurai rehearsal, just once. I found a map on the internet and went to the studios that day.
You should not be on the internet.
I went through the woods off the path so that old lady wouldn't catch me. I was going for the studio. I got kinda lost on the way, though, for about 30 minutes.
Open these freaking gummies.
When I came out at the studio, there was the Steel Samurai. It totally rocked. Right before my eyes, out came the bad guy. Of course, the Steel Samurai took him down. Pow! If I had my camera with me, that would have been the time for a shot, I tell you. Anyway, I couldn't get into the studio, so I went home.
Oh, so he didn't have the camera.
Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
No, wait, he did. Because didn't he take a photo of their practice from that morning?
Maybe he lost it.
But be gentle. Remember, you're talking to a child.
No, I'm gonna grill this child.
Oh my god.
This kid is tougher than most adults we see in here, honestly. Well, that's mostly because you can't, like, justify just starting to scream at a child.
That's
but you
like
can
a
justify
child.
Screaming at an adult.
That's true.
Okay, wanted to see a ceiling.
Yeah.
I think I have to show him his own images.
Yeah, probably.
Took him down, had my camera. Okay. Sorry, I just stuffed a whole bunch of gummies in my mouth.
Consume.
I wish I could look in this thing. Okay, yeah, no, that was bullshit.
How exactly is that evidence in the statement just now related?
They aren't, are they?
No.
No.
You dumb bitch. Please learn how to think before making accusations.
Oh my
I don't think that won me
God.
any points with the judge. Yeah, no.
The judge is pissed.
Okay, so I just probably have to press him on this.
Yeah.
If you had your camera? You mean you weren't carrying your camera then?
No, I wasn't. It's not like I have it all the time.
But you literally just said that. Really?
Kids speak in hyperbole, though.
I guess seeing the killing freaked him out and he went home.
Phoenix.
Yes.
Remember, he's a child. Use gentle words, but be firm.
Like a mother.
Easy for you to say.
You have to be a mother, Phoenix.
You got a mother.
You gotta get
Got a
mother.
mother.
You gotta.
Through the woods. Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go.
Yeah! Oh.
You're not going to grandmother's house.
Damn.
I'm going to...
Hold it.
You got lost in the woods?
Yeah. I couldn't figure out which way I was walking. Man, was I relieved when I saw the blue studio doors. But guess what happened next? When I came out by the studio... Oh wait, I think that's...
Yeah, that's the next
Same?
one.
Part of the testimony.
I'm just gonna press him on everything again. The Steel Samurai?
Yeah, he was standing by the studio gate. It looked like he was thinking about something before going in. Then he opened up the gate and went inside.
I see. What then? What sort of bad guy was it?
A guy, a person, kind of tall, skinny.
Are you sure it was a guy?
I don't know. He was kind of far away.
Hi, Aqua.
Hello, hello.
Huh. He's being awfully vague. Stop looking at me like that.
I didn't say anything.
You were going to.
You have no proof.
Okay. Sam turned down.
Pow!
Hold it.
Well, pow.
What happened to the bad guy?
Huh? Well, he kind of didn't move. Not a bit. Like, he was dead. I guess he's a real pro. What a great actor.
Yes, I suppose he was. We already did this one where he was like, on me all the time.
He totally rocked.
Let me go back to the first one. Wanted to see us steal him. Oh, hydrate. Oh, I didn't move my head pads. Oops.
I will consume water, actually. This seems like the Miki talking hour.
Yeah.
Hey. Want to see a Steel Samurai rehearsal? You really like the Steel Samurai, huh?
Course I do! I've taped every show. And I go to all the live performances.
That's impressive. Have you been to the amusement park?
Course! Duh! My dad always takes me.
Oh.
Poor dad. Oh,
What? Come on, Phoenix. You're just
Phoenix.
a fucking hater.
You're a
Phoenix.
hater. Can I map on the internet? Why are you on the internet? Was that day the first time you've been to the studio?
Actually, been a couple times. I never managed to get there on rehearsal day. And that security lady's always yelling.
Ugh. Right. Please continue.
Chill, Pops, I'm getting to it. How am I supposed to talk with you cutting me off all the time? Jeez!
Through the woods. Okay, we didn't do this one. Off the path.
Yeah, you know how the studios are in a valley there? If you go off the path a little, there's woods. That's where I was at.
I see.
Anyhow.
Go for the studio. Did nothing unusual happen on your way to the studio?
Unusual.
Did you see this monkey by any chance?
The monkey.
Oh, you mean Mr. Monkey? Yeah, I saw him, but his head wasn't busted.
So he went straight to the studio.
Okay, got lost. Saw the Steel Samurai. Totally rocked. Bad guy. Steel Samurai took him down. If he had his camera. I guess seeing the killing freaked him out and he went home.
Phoenix.
Yes.
Remember. We've already seen this.
Oh yeah, we've done this one. But what else is there for me to ask him about? And I don't think there's anything here.
Did you get hold of him?
I did. I asked about the Steel Samurai rehearsal, and he's like, I never get there on rehearsal day. And then I asked him if he has been there before. He's like, I've been there a lot. And then he went through the woods, talks about the path going off the woods, goes to the studio, and then he got lost in the woods. We talked about that. It's just samurai. Totally right before my eyes. Maybe I have to ask him about the camera again.
Can you present it?
I think you can.
Because I tried to do this, and that was nothing.
What about the camera?
Okay, thank God.
Okay, well,
Cody, what you just said seems a little strange. Squid is just afraid to object to a child. Didn't you say before that you always bring your digital camera wherever you go? You were quite clear about that. Oh.
Huh?
Oh.
I like this.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
Oh.
Cody, you shouldn't lie here. You understand that, right?
Mr. Wright, a word with you.
What? Oh, was I putting on the pressure a little too much?
What is this digital camera contraption you're talking about?
Oh, it's not what I said. It's because you're old.
I'm old.
It's, oh my god, Judge.
He's aging right before our eyes.
We all are aging right before your eyes.
It's a digital camera, Your Honor. It's kind of a new sort of camera. How do I explain that?
I see.
Anyway, Cody. I can't believe you wouldn't bring your camera on a trip to the studios. You did bring it, didn't you? Oh, no!
Mr. Wright. How cruel you are to terrorize a poor child so.
Edgeworth, shut up! I don't care if he's a child or a prosecuting attorney. No one should lie in court.
Oh my god. What do you mean if we're a prosecuting attorney?
They're having a
What the fuck?
fight
Why are you
right
having
now.
why are you having beef with me right now?
What the fuck?
You know what I mean, Edgeworth. Well, Cody.
What? Yeah, so I had my camera. So what? You got a problem with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the box.
On the box. So you did have a camera. And did you use this camera? Why would I use it?
I know why you would use it.
I was too busy watching. Very well. Please testify to the court about what you were so busy watching.
Oh, I think I got an eyelash in my eye.
Eat it.
Oh.
Yeah, I had my camera with me. But I was glued to the action. I couldn't take my eyes off it. The Steel Samurai, he goes for the bad guy. Wham! Then the bad guy stopped moving. He's so strong. The Steel Samurai rules. Is that all? Well, that was brief. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination.
Hey, Judge, I got a finger in my eye trying to get the eyelash out. Had my camera with me. Okay. Okay, we'll just go from the beginning. Nothing sticks out to me right now.
Yeah.
So why didn't you use it? But Edgeworth. Achoo.
Oh, I was muted.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
I said it. I was like confused on why you guys were fucking badgering me.
Oh no!
We're sorry.
Sorry.
No, it was my goof. I fucked up. He's getting to that.
What are you?
I think it's just
dead?
like we gotta pressure him later. Yeah, it's Pops. Relax and listen, you impatient little shit.
I didn't use it because I was too busy watching the real thing.
Okay. So you were watching the Steel Samurai. Did you watch the whole fight?
Yeah, of course.
You didn't turn away? Not even once?
No,
know.
Okay then, tell us exactly what happened.
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Okay, well, chill out. Okay. So the bad guy attacked him first.
Yeah.
What sort of person was this bad guy?
I told you, a person. He was a person.
How was he dressed?
I kinda don't remember. I was too busy watching The Steel Samurai.
I see. And what happened next?
Why?
Huh? What do you mean, why?
Why wasn't the bad guy moving?
Well, because the Steel Samurai brought him to justice.
And how exactly did he do that?
How did he do it? With a samurai kick and a samurai punch, samurai chop, samurai slap. Something like that.
He's still being vague about this.
What? Don't give me that look, Pops!
Oh, so I'm also your Pops? Edgeworth.
I can't believe this.
I'm gonna wait, I guess. No, I feel like everything else is gonna be vague about.
Yeah, because if he's gonna continue being vague, then he'll never stop being vague, no?
Yeah, press him harder. Cody.
What?
Something's bothering me. Before you said that you couldn't take your eyes off the action.
Yeah? So what?
Yet you missed the most important part.
What is the meaning of this? The witness has stated what he saw quite clearly.
Objection back at you, bitch. You know as well as I do that he's being vague. Tell me, what kind of murderer uses a samurai slap? My point is this, and I'm pointing at you, so get this point, Edgeworth. Cody, you may have seen some of the Steel Samurais fight, but you missed the most important part, the killing blow.
Order, order! Mr. Wright!
Oh my god.
How could this be? Can you explain how he might have missed something so vital?
Well, that's the thing.
Phoenix. I believe you're on the right track with this. Think, why didn't Cody see the climax of the fight? I know you. You can figure this out. Mr. Wright, your answer. We have ascertained that this young boy is a great fan of the Steel Samurai. Why wouldn't he watch the climax of the fight?
Oh, show evidence.
Show evidence.
I don't know what evidence I would show.
Yeah, show evidence.
The spear?
If you need a little hand, I will help. But I don't fully remember how to solve this case. I just know what happens. Let's take a little read.
Wish I could look in this thing.
Well,
You
wait.
should present the scrapbook.
If he was taking the picture, he wouldn't be watching. He'd be too busy fiddling with the camera?
Maybe.
Because that does happen quite often, right?
Yeah,
You should read the notebook. Oh yeah.
Your Honor, I have evidence.
You and I have evidence.
Evidence?
I don't know if it's this part.
Yes, Your Honor. Oh, so you told me to do it, and then you're like, I don't know.
You should do the samurai book though. Why
Okay.
not? Do it. Fuck it, you know? You just do it again.
Yeah, this is nothing.
Okay, never mind. Might be.
Here's my proof.
Proof?
Might
can I
be.
do that again?
Sorry, Phoenix, that was too smart for you.
This doesn't prove anything.
My knowledge might be. Oh, I have to read. Lost your nerve, have you? Sorry, I'm like illness brained.
No, that's fair.
Oopsie. One more again.
One more again.
Well, though,
ascertained.
Why wouldn't he watch the climax of the fight?
He couldn't?
He was watching... What?
He was watching something else? I want to say he's watching something else, but I don't know what that something else is. He's watching
Maybe
something
Phoenix
else.
does.
He missed the climax of the fight because he was looking at something else. Probably. Yeah, okay, so that was nothing.
Something else.
Explain yourself. What could possibly distract this boy from seeing his idol? The scene of samurai fight. What do you claim he was looking at?
Come on, think of something. Think of something. Nothing.
The thinker.
Mr. Wright! I'm withering away!
He's dying!
Please refrain from making baseless claims!
No, Judge!
Oopsie. No, he's dying!
Yes, sorry, Your Honor.
This is your fault. Do you have another explanation for this?
Okay, yes,
Okay.
I get it, it's this one. Because he couldn't watch it. How could he calmly watch a murder taking place at his age?
Just a moment, please. One thing has become quite clear in this boy's testimony. He did not believe he was witnessing a murder. He was watching the Steel Samurai fight like on TV. The more real the fight, the more he would have watched. They
So
love
it is
violence.
evidence? Did we just pick the wrong one?
Oh, maybe Miki was right. Maybe I'm just a fool.
What?
Maybe I'm Boo Boo the fool.
What did I say earlier?
He said he was probably fiddling with the camera and couldn't watch it.
Yeah, because you stop being in the moment when you're fiddling with the camera. That's usually what people say.
Yeah, but I would have thought we would have opened the book to be like, this is the picture from the day, or whatever.
Well, no.
Well, because his whole thing is that he takes pictures of all the killings. The finishing shot.
Killings?
The finishing blows or whatever.
Takes a picture.
Okay.
Takes a picture every time the Steel Samurai wins.
Yeah. So like I
Phrasing
would
it like
think
the killings is crazy.
I would
That's so
think
funny.
Killings is wild.
but
So
I would
funny.
think that he would have
I
that
am-
picture in there.
Mm.
Oh.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have another explanation?
You need to go to the hospital. Ascertain.
Getting
Blah, blah, blah.
older.
Okay, evidence. I have evidence. Yes, Your Honor. Don't need to look away from the fight. I think it's probably this thing. Let's
still
try
not
He's
this.
still
how to do
learning.
it.
One more game.
Yeah.
Here's my proof.
What's that?
I'm
sorry.
rejuvenated.
What is that?
The camera. I don't know why, but I was just
Feels
staring
better
at the
now.
box that showed up in the camera, and I'm just like staring. And it's like actually there in that
Mhm.
gray box. I don't know why. Anyway, what's that? The camera.
The witness stated that he recently received this camera.
Hydrate, okay.
Thank you.
I've lost my water. Where'd it go?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's on the table. Yes, I'm aware of that.
He wasn't entirely familiar with its operation.
I'm aware of that too.
Correct. Why would Cody be looking somewhere else at the critical moment? Because he was looking at his camera. He was trying to take a picture.
Wow.
Yeah, people do that. Hey!
Bullseye.
What's your problem, Pops? You got a thing for picking on little kids?
You're beating me up.
Pressing, not picking.
Good job, Phoenix. You're beating up
Mia.
a kid. Cody was lying, clearly. Smart of you to realize there was no way he could stand there watching his hero and not take a picture.
Yippee!
Right. Cody? There was only one reason why you would have looked away from the fight. And that was because you wanted to take a picture. But having just received your camera, you weren't used to using it yet. So you missed the climax of the fight, correct? Oh.
Yeah. Well, Phoenix, I'll bet you anything he's hiding more than that. Have him testify again.
Right. Mia means business. Your Honor, the defense would like to request that Cody Hackins
Cody Cackins.
Cody Cackins!
testify once more.
Very well. Cody? Could you please tell us about your camera? And about why you didn't take a picture of that fight?
Welcome to the real world, kid.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Look what you did, Phoenix!
So no photo?
No photo?
So no photo.
So no photo? Yeah, you're right, Pops. The Steel Samurai had just escaped from the clutches of the villain. So, I held up my camera to take a picture. But the lens wouldn't open in time, so I missed it. That's all that happened. Yep.
I don't believe you.
Anything strange in that testimony, Mr. Wright?
I'm not sure. But I'd like to proceed with the cross-examination anyway. You're right. Steel Samurai had just escaped from the clutches of the villain, so I held up my camera to take a picture. The lens wouldn't open in time, so I missed it. That's all that happened. Are we sure? That's all?
Yeah! I told you I didn't take a picture!
I would've, once I got that lens open. Did he really not take a picture? Not even one? I'm gonna press it. Nah, he definitely would have taken a picture. There's gotta be something here I can use. Cody! Listen up, Cody Hackins. I know exactly what happened that day. You took a picture.
Hey!
Bullseye?
How did you know?
I see through all your lies, Cody Hackins. It's one of my powers.
Oh my god.
Wow!
This feels great.
Yeah, I took a picture. Perhaps you can change your testimony to reflect this, Cody. I took a few shots, but it was too late, so I erased them.
You erased them?
Yeah.
Why would you erase a picture of your beloved Steel Samurai victorious?
well, you know. Why would I keep a picture like that? Close enough.
He's becoming less and less cooperative. You better find a clear contradiction soon, or some solid evidence. How can I pick holes into such a short testimony?
There has to be something. Dig up the dirt, Phoenix. Find out what this kid's all about. Yeah, you're right, Pops. The Steel Samurai had just escaped from the clutches of the villain. Did we read this already?
Yeah, we already did this.
Okay.
Held up his camera to
It
take
did
a
get
picture.
updated, so.
Lens wouldn't open in time, so I missed it. Took a few shots. It's too late. I erased it. Lens wouldn't open in time. When the lens opened, what did you see?
Well, a person on the ground and the Steel Samurai.
Okay, not helpful. Close up the camera to take a picture. Sales Samurai escaped from the clutches of the villain. So you did see the beginning of the fight.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything unusual?
Well, I guess the Steel Samurai was moving a little strange.
Oh, sorry.
What the fuck?
Punched my mic.
Wow.
My bad.
Oh my god.
Moving strangely? Man, I really don't know what to press on this.
I mean, that one picture of him.
Yeah, but they don't give me that extra dialogue to press with this.
Oh, okay.
Random weapon, break in shaft. Label reads sleeping pills, blocked path, contains photos of reviews.
Look at this photograph.
Where is it? So you're gonna use it. Press them on that, press them on that. Why couldn't you take a picture?
My new camera has too many buttons. I couldn't figure it out. I tried to take a picture. I really tried.
Held up camera, lens wouldn't open. See if someone escaped from the clutches of the villain. Oh. Took a few shots, too late, erased him. How can I pick holes in such a short testimony? Oh my.
I mean, the testimony got updated after.
Well, the only thing that they added was that last one.
So, the last one?
I
don't know.
already pressed him on that one. He said he erased him.
Wonder why you erased him.
Well, I already asked him. Again.
Can you present anything?
I don't know what I would present.
I was on about the. What was it?
The
Blue.
yapper.
Blue. Sure. Oh my god!
I'm so sorry.
That's like a jump scare.
So
no,
sorry.
you're fine.
The loudest noise in the world.
I'm so sorry.
It's
No, you're fine.
okay. It's like funny.
I don't think it's gonna be this again.
So it could be the. I don't know.
Let's try. Okay.
Oh,
Cody.
okay.
Cody.
Cody!
Oh, what? Man, every time you say Cody, you follow with something bad.
Cody. I just wanted to thank you for giving me this the other day.
Huh? Oh, right.
What was it you told me then?
I go to every live performance. I always take a picture when the Steel Samurai lands the final blow. Wazam! I got them all. I never missed one. A perfect
The
collection.
killings.
All
The
the
killings.
killings.
I couldn't think of the
Every-
word.
It's funny.
Cody. Did you really get a picture of the Steel Samurai standing victorious over his foe? If you did, I find it hard to believe that you would just erase it. Wouldn't you keep it for your album?
Mr. Wright. What exactly is this album?
Oh my god. My headphones.
Uh-oh.
It's called Path to Glory. It's a collection of pictures of the Steel Samurai, all taken by Cody Hackins. He claims it's a perfect collection of every battle the Steel Samurai has won.
I see.
I see, of course. With your eyes.
I do, in fact, see. Yes.
Don't you find this very odd, Your Honor? Among all his pictures of the Steel Samurai, none were taken that day.
Order. Mr. Wright, have you an explanation? If the Steel Samurai had just defeated his adversary, I certainly would expect to see...
I bumped it.
See something?
I think it was in
a
his,
picture of it in his album.
in his collection or something like that.
His album. I looked at the stream because I also have it open on my other screen, so I got it. No, you're good.
I bumped it on accident.
You bumped it.
It's okay.
My pointer on your... No. Wait. No way.
Phoenix? I think we finally discovered the truth.
Mia, do you know something I don't?
And what a truth it is.
Mia, are we sure about this? Did he actually...
Yes. I'm pretty sure what you're thinking is right.
Oh boy.
Tell them, Phoenix. Tell them what the truth is.
Speak your truth.
Mr. Wright, please explain to the court what is going on here. Why was there no picture in the album for the day of the murder? Why would the boy have erased the photos he took? Oh, maybe the Steel Samurai didn't win? Question mark.
The Steel Samurai didn't win.
He only takes a picture when the Steel Samurai wins, so...
Yeah. I can think of only one reason, Your Honor. The Steel Samurai didn't win. That's why Cody deleted those photos.
You mean the Steel Samurai lost?
That is what happens when you don't win. So. Well, Cody, I'm right, aren't I? Tell the truth. The bad guy defeated the Steel Samurai.
No way! No! It's impossible! The Steel Samurai never loses! He never loses to anyone, ever!
Your Honor, the witness has revealed everything with his words. There was a reason why he lied and told us he didn't take a picture. The same reason he erased his precious photos. For Cody, it was inconceivable that the Steel Samurai could be defeated. However, Cody witnessed the impossible. He saw the Steel Samurai lose. Yet to admit what he saw would destroy everything he believed in. That's why he lied and said the Steel Samurai won. He couldn't handle the truth.
He couldn't handle the truth.
You can handle the truth, Cody!
Order! I will have order! Cody, is this true? What did you see? Tell the court what you saw.
No.
No, the baby. Cody. That day, you saw the Steel Samurai lose a fight. Right?
Okay. You're right. The Steel Samurai fell down. Then he didn't move.
Aww.
Order.
What kind of stunt are you trying to pull, Wright? The Steel Samurai was the murderer, not the victim.
Yet according to your witness's testimony, the Steel Samurai was the one who fell.
This little box.
Mr. Wright, what's going on?
What the fuck?
Apparently, we all have made a serious error.
An error? What's this all about?
Steel Samurai was the victim. Hammer was the victim.
Well, Hammer was the one that died, but the Steel Samurai was the one that fell here.
Well, if the Steel Samurai was wearing the Steel Samurai
Everyone's
stuff,
saying it must be Will Powers because Will Power is the actor of the Steel Samurai,
He
but
could just
all
been
we've seen
wearing
is
it.
the suit.
the suit, yeah, it could have just been simply wearing a different suit.
Yeah,
Right?
Steel Samurai was the victim. If you understand what really happened, it's actually quite simple. At the end of the fight, the Steel Samurai fell to the ground and lay still. In other words, the Steel Samurai was not the killer, he was the victim. Don't you see? Jack Hammer was the Steel Samurai.
Order! So, the Steel Samurai in this photograph. You're saying the man in this costume was the victim? Mr. Jack Hammer?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, Your Honor. Jack Hammer was present at the action scene run-through that morning. Thus, he obviously knew about Will Power's foot injury.
But wait! Hadn't Mr. Hammer gone to Studio 1 already?
That's what everyone thought. Remember what Miss Oldbag said in her testimony?
On the day of the murder, arrived at the guard station at 1 a.m. 1 a.m. p.m. Why did I be there at 1 a.m.? Sorry, I'm old. Did I see poor Harold Hammer? Nope. Bro is gone. He'd already gone back to the studio before I got back to the guard station. That's you, Squid.
Squid?
Mr. Phoenix, right?
Oh my god. Is he
he's
good?
gone.
He's gone.
I'm here, sorry, no, I'm here. Mr. Jack Hammer left the employee area after lunch. However, no one saw him going to Studio 1. Nor was there a picture of him. He waited for Mr. Powers to take a nap in his dressing room. Then he snuck into the dressing room and stole the Steel Samurai costume. Oh, I'm not gonna say that. Anyways.
But why would the victim do such a thing?
I don't know.
I get it.
Huh?
I thought the Steel Samurai was moving strange. So it was a different person inside the suit. Pops!
Huh? Me? What?
Actually, there was one piece of data I saved.
Data?
Yeah, a photo on my digital camera.
Ah! What?
Show us, quick.
Show your
No
papas.
way, man! Not. What?
Show your papas.
No way, man! Not if you're gonna look at me like that!
You're scary.
Now!
Oh god. You guys are bullying this baby.
It's a murder trial. We need the picture.
Here, this is it.
Look at this photograph.
Look at this photograph. Feels
Oh.
jacked at this angle.
Big suit.
Well, looking at this, it's still a little hard to say. I'm afraid that it could be anyone in that costume.
But look at it.
Your opinion, Mr. Wright?
I agree, Your Honor. This isn't decisive evidence.
I'm sorry, this doesn't look like the proof. It's the proof we need.
But look where he's going.
I'll give it back. Wait, Phoenix.
Mia, what?
Look at that photo once more.
Look at this photograph.
That's it, Phoenix.
Look at this photograph.
That photo's all the evidence you need to win this trial.
What? Your Honor. May I see that photo once more, please?
Certainly. I don't see why not. Phoenix, show him. There's a glaring, decisive inconsistency with the facts as we know them in the photo.
What is it?
Find the inconsistency.
Could it be the big two?
Giant 2.
How strange. He was found in Studio 1.
Your Honor, look at this.
Look at this photograph.
Look at this photograph.
I see. Gate.
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 Might I draw your attention to the number on that gate?
It could be a different font. The number?
A 1 at that angle? I don't think so.
It could be
That
one
diagonal.
spelt very weirdly, and it is O-N-E, but that's just the N, and the
Where's
O
the
and
E?
Sideways.
Where's the E?
The O and the E got lost by the wind.
Blown right off.
Yes. Well, it's hard to see, but it looks like a 2.
Clearly not a 1, Your Honor, correct?
I don't
Right,
know.
Your Honor?
No, it could be a 1.
Oh, I cut out my loud,
Oh.
my very loud scream. That I did.
I believe Mr. Edgeworth sees what I'm getting at. Take
I
that,
screamed
bitch.
really loud, and
I heard a little bit of it. I think I heard
it
like a little bit.
I did not.
Yeah, Discord said no, don't scream that loud. But that's impossible.
Eh? What's this all about?
Echo, blit.
Etoble.
Please explain so that I might be shocked along with the rest of the court.
He has FOMO. He wants to be shocked.
Have FOMO. That's what the kids are saying these days.
I'll use the studio guide map. The body was found here in Studio 1. However, what do we see in this photo taken at the time of the murder? It does not say a 1 on that gate in the photo. Your Honor, here is the true scene of the crime. Show the judge where the murder took place.
Climb.
2.
Press E.
E. Here
For
at
everyone.
Studio 2.
Whoa.
I see. This would explain the 2 on the gate in the photo. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Your Honor, I find it very significant that the murder took place in Studio 2. The trailer
The path
has
was
been-
blocked, probably.
No filming is done there. Passes by trailers there.
My assumption is the path was blocked, but I might be wrong. Because it's hard to navigate. Wait,
We were yapping about the trailer.
that's true.
That trailer is there.
Because the people with that the trailer have an alibi.
Yeah, but
But
it's just
That would change if it were to be. But I don't know.
The
I don't
trailer is
remember.
there. As you
The
may recall, there is a
trailer.
trailer in Studio 2. Now, on that day, a meeting was held in that very trailer. I don't know what's happening to me right now. There was a break in the meeting corresponding to the time of death. Oh, they said nobody left the trailer, but no one said anything about anyone entering the trailer. During that break, Mr. Salmonella and Miss D. Vasquez were outside eating a steak. They were at the scene of the crime. The path to the trailer was blocked.
I was gonna. Oh, okay. So we have heard.
The path was blocked at 2:15. In other words, the victim went to Studio 2 before that time.
Yes, I suppose that would be the case.
Remember Mr. Salmonella's testimony? Allow me to remind the court. He said no one in the trailer was guilty because they could not have gone to Studio 1. Yet in actuality, the reverse was true. Only someone in the trailer could have committed this murder. They were the only ones with access to the scene of the crime, Studio 2.
Wow.
Can the murderer be the fucking one guy we don't like? Can it just be him?
Please, send him to
Please.
jail.
Just so we can send him to jail.
You just want us up to jail.
Yeah, I legitimately, yeah.
Fair enough.
Order!
The defense makes the following claims. The scene of the crime was Studio 2. The person that the security guard, Miss Oldbag, saw was the victim, Mr. Jack Hammer. Mr. Hammer, for some reason, stole a Steel Samurai costume. Then he went to Studio 2.
This is madness. This is Sparta. Jack Hammer is the victim. The victim.
Take over the
Why
wall.
would he steal a Steel Samurai costume? A Steel Samurai costume.
Why would he steal
Why would he
samurai?
steal Samurai costume?
Why would he steal samurai costume?
Why would he steal Samurai costume?
Why would he steal samurai a Steel Samurai costume?
Why would he steal? Why? 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 Why?
Why?
Are you suggesting he did so to cover up the details of his own murder? Yeah, actually.
Well, no, of course not.
Why not, Phoenix? Don't be a coward.
Fish. Hi,
Yeah.
Lux. Fishy.
Oh, the fishing is still big.
Ah!
No, I forgot about the fishing being big.
You don't get to see Phoenix Wright anymore.
Hold on.
Bye, Phoenix Wright.
Bye, Phoenix. You're replaced by fish. I forgot I made it big. It can go small again.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the thing. Back to the bourbon day. Well, no, of course not.
I'm sorry, I just made it again. I did the goofed it.
Oh no.
Or do you have proof? Give me proof that the victim Jack Hammer stole the costume.
I think I do
the
have proof,
picture
don't
with
I?
the slumpy? No.
The sleeping pills?
Either or, I guess.
I have.
Because if the suit was for Will Powers, it's only well suited to him to wear it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if the other picture, it didn't look like it fit at all.
Eating. I do have proof.
It's one of those two, probably.
I have proof.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Bitch.
You do, Mr. Wright.
I do, Your Honor. Now that they're so surprised, suddenly I'm much less confident. I think I'm right, though. Here's my proof that Jack Hammer stole the costume.
The sleeper.
I love you too! Am I winning? I think so. I think I'm winning.
Better get this next one right then.
The pressure's on. The pressure is
Pressure's
on. I'm gonna try this.
question mark photo.
I think that's just how the suit is. I will say.
Okay.
It's not. That's just how it looks. The
Well, I
lens
thought
is
isn't
like
Power
that because-
But if it
isn't
doesn't
Powers
fit-
taller?
Yeah,
I
isn't
think they're
Powers
the
taller?
same. I think they're the same-ish.
Are
I'm not
they?
sure.
I
I don't think that's important. This is just how the suit is. If you remember the original when we watched the opening.
I forgot.
It feels
Oh, okay.
inconvenient that his legs are covered.
Yeah.
Well, that's just how it looks because it's a television.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Oh.
I mean, if you want to do it, you can.
Yeah.
So would it?
I
Do you
could be
think it's
wrong.
this?
Made him pass the fuck out.
That wasn't helpful. Okay,
Huh?
we're gonna try it.
Okay, it's that one.
This is it.
Maybe. An empty medicine bottle.
I found this on the table in the employee area.
Because Mr. Will Powers took a nap.
The same
Okay.
table where Mr. Hammer and Mr. Powers ate. The label reads sleeping pills.
Sleeping pills?
The defendant, Mr. Powers, spent that entire afternoon sleeping. He was drugged by Mr. Hammer.
Wait a moment. That bottle does raise some suspicions, yes. But there's no proof that Mr. Hammer used it.
Your Honor, I have an idea. Fingerprint the bottle. Test Powers' blood. Well, I think it's been way too long for that.
It's been way too long for that. And rigor mortis would have set in long past, too.
No, Powers is our guy.
Powers is the guy we're defending. Hammer
No,
is the...
the Hammer's body for rigor mortis, which is a dead body in regards to anything that could have happened.
So we'll do fingerprints. Fingerprint the bottle.
An idea? Very well, let's hear it.
Which, honestly, if this was a real courtroom, it already would have been fingerprinted, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I want to check this bottle for fingerprints.
Fingies.
If my claim is true, Mr. Hammer's fingerprints should show up on this bottle.
Arg.
Hmm.
I suppose you're right. Very well. The court will take possession of the bottle.
Empty bottle given to the judge.
I ate it.
He like
This
swallowed it
court was-
whole. And he's like, I'm checking for fingerprints.
Yum.
My body is a machine that checks for fingerprints.
Jesus
Oh.
Christ. This court will suspend proceedings on the current trial for the day. Cody Hatton's testimony has revealed new possibilities in this case. In fact, things may have happened very differently than we previously thought.
Oh my god, someone call him an ambulance.
The Steel Samurai seen by Mrs. Oldbag may have been the victim, Jack Hammer. The scene of the crime was not Studio 1, but Studio 2. And those in the trailer did have time to commit murder. Mr. Wright, I really hope it's salmonella or whatever the fuck.
We do.
I
hate
really
that
do
guy.
hope. I really, truly do hope it's Mr. Salmonella and not the hot lady.
Yes, Your Honor. But if it's the hot lady, it would make her hotter to you.
But no, but like, then she's going to prison, and I can't see her again.
I mean, you have visiting hours.
No, I don't. I don't have rights. Your homework is to find the answer to the following question. Why would Mr. Hammer steal the Steel Samurai costume? Also, who killed him?
Why would
Why?
he samurai steal the Steel Samurai costume?
Find the answers for me by tomorrow.
That's a lot of homework.
Mr. Edgeworth,
Your homework is to take that stick out your ass.
You will need to reconsider your stance in this case.
Mm.
Above all, you will need to reconsider your suspicion of Mr. Will Powers.
As you say, Your Honor.
Of course, my liege. Yes, Your Majesty.
This trial will be extended until tomorrow. This is the last extension.
Yeah, because in Ace Attorney Land, you have to do it in three
Mhm.
days.
Very well. Court is adjourned. October 19th, 2:47 p.m. District Court Defendant, Lobby Number 1.
Whew. That was a close one.
We were saved by a hair, but that's all that counts. I thought seriously.
Yeah.
True. I thought seriously about going home about 3 times during that trial.
Just happily leaving. Like, okay.
I'm just gonna go. Bye-bye.
Me too.
You can't do that.
Really?
Oh no.
People seem so confident. I'm just a little guy.
Maybe I should take up a career in acting?
No, I think you'd be bad.
You'd be real bad.
I was ready to pronounce you dead about 3 times back there. Don't tell him that!
Oh,
What the fuck?
Guys!
Me too!
Mia!
OMG,
Oh,
samesies!
Babies!
Oh my god.
Dad.
Oh, of course we're kidding.
It doesn't sound like you were kidding. Are you sure?
Mayhaps.
sound like you were
Mayhaps
kidding.
not.
I wasn't kidding. I was serious.
I was being for
Oh,
real.
you were being for real.
Now, Mr. Powers, we have to go make our final investigation. But I promise you, we'll find the true killer by tomorrow's trial.
Oh, right. Thanks. Sniff.
Sneef.
Sneef.
To be continued.
Ah.
And that'll be our stop for tonight.
Our stop for the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say my progress. Yes, please.
Eat it.
Eat my progress. Yes, please.
Yummy.
Over I see us. Back, and then furiously tap the escape button.
Mhm.
October 19th, 3:27 p.m. right in co-law offices.
Mhm.
Back to title screen. Yes,
Okay.
please. Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Stretch. Okay, let's see who's online tonight. No, that's a Thursday.
Meow.
Let's see. Alright. Who's online? Germa.
Oh,
Dharma.
No, any personal friends of mine online? Germa. No,
Germa.
Dharma.
I wish.
You know Germa personally.
Yeah. We're tight,
Yeah.
actually. He's like my uncle.
Saying happy birthday to me once.
Happy birthday,
He did.
Miku.
Happy birthday,
birthday,
Mickey.
Happy birthday, Mickey.
I still don't think anybody I know is on.
Zam.
What the heck?
Hmm.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Nobody.
Shame.
What the heck?
I'm
Damn.
sorry.
That's okay. Alright, well. Let's see. I don't know what my schedule's gonna be next week. Oh no, I do work on Tuesday. What time do I work on Tuesday? I think I get home early that day. Just so I know. Okay, yeah, I'm 7. I come home at 3 on Tuesday, so we can definitely do a stream on Tuesday.
Okay.
If I take just like a fat nap beforehand.
That's fair.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for coming and
Thank
hanging
you for
out.
vibing.
And giggling.
Mm.
That was mostly us giggling. Oh yeah, but yeah, Fiery, if you're still here, I might have to just message you because I feel like you disappear somewhere near the end. So I'll just message you if you're not here. Since you were in one of the top 3 for the fishing,
Yeah.
when we finish the decks, you get to decide what, like, if you want like an item, or maybe I can get like a little like plush of an OC you have, or a Sona.
I already know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know what you're doing for the fishing game. So when I get all of those done, I believe it's you, Miki, and Aya. You, all 3 of you get one.
You're a winner, Aya.
You're a wiener.
I didn't try. I didn't do anything.
That's okay.
Me and Fiery were out here fighting for our lives, and you're like,
because like
I
no one
also
else
won.
fishes so intensely.
Just you 2 are overachievers. But yeah, so the 3 of you get to pick an item or a character or something, and I can get a little 3D model of it and import it into the fishing game.
Oh, that's so silly.
And then you can fish up your little guys or your, I don't know, favorite item.
I'm gonna put my favorite item in the world in there.
It's Miki.
I want like a
It's
microscopic Miki.
You want a microscopic Miki?
I'm good. No, I'll think about it.
I already know what I'm doing, but I am willing to change it.
No.
You're willing
It
to
can be
change
whatever
it?
you
No.
want.
I can think.
It can be whatever you want,
now.
within reason. It can't be like a pair of titties.
Can it be Jesus Christ?
You want a tiny Jesus?
Like a flat PNG of Jesus
Jesus
Christ.
Jesus.
And it rotates and he goes invisible.
That'd
That'd be
Because it's like a
awesome.
flat
funny.
image. That'd be funny.
That'd be pretty epic.
But yeah, I'll
I think it'd
message
be
Fiery
funny.
because I think Fiery probably is like not listening right now.
That's
Mhm.
fair.
Just lurking. That's fine. Okay.
The lurker.
So possibly Tuesday, if everyone is feeling good.
I'll probably be fine.
Yeah, boy.
I think I have to be in office that day, but that's fine. I'll be
Oh yeah,
fine.
just let me know, because if we have to start later, or I can move it during the week. I'm very flexible.
Why would you say it like
I'm
that?
flexible.
I think I'm judging you right now.
No, why are you judging me? I just said it in a silly voice.
Okay.
Okay. All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
I'm probably gonna eat and go back to bed.
Yeah,
That's
you
fair.
need to lay down.
Lay down, gamer.
Your pain medicine has like knocked you out.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
They call me
bye-bye.
the sleepy.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, one last fish for the road.
One last fish for the road.
The final fishing.
Let's see what
The
Watcher gets.
final fishing.
Judging what you're getting, Watcher. A fish.
One.
Oh my god, a fish.
Why would you spoil it? It wasn't done for me yet. Why would you spoil the fishing mini game?
Well, I
Can't
didn't tell you
believe it
what
was a
kind of fish
fish.
it was. You fished
What
and
the
got
fuck?
a fish. Oh my god.
Spoilers!
No way.
Spoilers. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Have a good night/day, everybody.
Just say time zone.
Bye-bye.
Good
Have a good
time
time
zone,
zone.
everybody.
Have a good time.
Or else.
Or else. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.